What's the scariest encounter with a stranger you've ever had? I had recently moved to a new, sketchy neighborhood. Growing up, I had a positive, rose-colored glasses view of the world, and maintained it even in the new rough neighborhood. I still talked with strangers if approached. I was always friendly, always looking for conversation and connection. I believed in the synchronicity of the universe and loved random encounters. I'm a bit of an outdoors enthusiast. I had been a hiker throughout most of my life and had learned to enjoy the solitude of being in the woods by myself. In my hometown, I never felt unsafe. It was something I did frequently. That being said, one of the things I instantly did once I moved was scope out new trails, new spots, new places to explore. A couple months after settling in, my friend showed me this canyon area about 30 or so minutes from home. The area she took me to was about 20 or so minutes from the nearest town, and was so far back that there was no cell service. It had a river that ran through it, and was a popular summer spot for families to come and swim in the summer. It would get packed, and honestly was not a fun place to be during peak season, so I made a note of it and figured I'd come back again and get a swim in on a weekday when there were less people around. So flash forward a couple months later, it's a warm and sunny day during the week. I had the day off and I was determined to go back and explore this mystical canyon. I got in my car and drove straight there with dreams of jumping in that crystal clear water. I hadn't thought about it at the time, but I told no one where I was going, and I was rapidly entering the part of the canyon where you lose any sort of reception. I wasn't thinking about my safety or taking precautions. All I wanted was to sunbathe and swim, and I couldn't help but marvel at the beautiful day as I blasted my car radio and rolled my windows down, smiling to the sky. I approached the Day-Use River area that is offered by the Forest Service and noticed that there is still a good amount of people, and I really just wanted to find a nice secluded spot to sit alone in silence. So I drive about 10 more minutes down this road to a spot where the road meets a bridge that overlooks a section of this river. There is only one car there, and I hadn't seen anyone during that drive. I'm pretty excited thinking, I've got this all to myself, as I quickly pack up my towel, a small portable speaker, and a bag with miscellaneous items, including a toy for personal use. I quickly ran down into the river area from where my car is parked. As soon as I'm walking by, I notice a couple having a swim. They're pretty tucked back under some trees, but I still see them and smile and wave. I decided to give them their privacy, and I wanted my own, so I walked about 7 minutes down the river and found a nice secluded spot with a hole deep enough to submerge your body if you crouch down. I'm ecstatic. I set all my stuff down, put some music on the speaker, get into my bathing suit, and just hop into this little watering hole. For context, I've been sitting in this water facing the road, with my back turned toward the forest behind me. Not even 15 minutes after I arrive, I notice a hiker coming toward me from down the river. He's an older man, maybe in his late 60s, white. As he's approaching me, my small suburban town mentality kicks in, and I immediately wave and say hello. I had figured, here's another hiker just enjoying a beautiful day. I encounter hikers on trails all the time and say hello and never think anything of it, it's just basic kindness. As he reaches the spot where I'm at, he stops at the edge of the water to the right of me and greets me. He's wearing sunglasses and regular clothing. He starts chatting with me and he asks, "How's the water?" I reply, "Oh, it's lovely. It's a lovely day." He eventually moves to right in front of me. He's only like, maybe 6 feet in front of me. We then get on the topic of the water level. I'm from a drought-ridden state, so to me it's a common topic of conversation if you spend a lot of time outdoors. He says something to the effect of, "The water level is a little higher this year." And I'm just like, yeah, there is still a ton of water. Totally normal conversation, and then he goes, "How deep is that water you're in?" I remember instantly feeling off about this comment, even though it's not a strange thing to ask on paper, but something about how he said it made me feel weird. I just go, "Oh, it's about knee deep." As soon as I barely get that out of my mouth, he goes, "Stand up for me, I want to see how deep it is." I try to brush him off and keep going, "No, it's knee deep, I don't want to get out of the water," and he's just insistent. My adrenaline starts to kick in a little and I'm starting to feel a bit nervous. It's the same feeling I get anytime a strange man is looking at me like I'm a piece of meat, and that's exactly what it was starting to feel like. I slightly bend out of the water, feeling like I should just do it because maybe I'm overreacting. When I do this, he stares at me up and down and I can't even remember what he said at that point, something irrelevant, but I just remember feeling like it was obvious he just wanted to see my body. He then starts talking to me about where he likes to swim in the canyon. It's been 5 minutes at this point, and I'm just thinking, okay dude. Maybe I shouldn't have acknowledged you because this is starting to drag on and in a way that doesn't feel right. I'm just kind of nodding my head and trying to be polite, a tactic that I used to use when I felt I was in danger around men. I always figured, if I don't anger them and just appease them, they won't hurt me, right? Maybe he's just lonely and a genuine guy who wants to talk about water, so I should be nice. I made a comment like, "Yeah, I've never been over there, but that sounds cool." This is the point where my suspicion becomes true. He follows up that comment with, "Why don't I get your number and I can take you back there sometime?" I'm dumbfounded, trying to understand why a man who was old enough to be my grandfather was trying to take my number down. I'm a woman, by herself, in the middle of nowhere essentially. If this man had any woman in his life, wouldn't he socially understand how creepy that was to ask? I try to brush it off and keep being polite but direct. I tell him, no thank you. I'm okay. He just kind of stares at me and doesn't say anything for about 10 seconds and then eventually goes, come on, I just want to take you to this spot of the river. I think you'd like it. I again politely, but firmly decline. I decide to offer an explanation, thinking maybe this'll stop him. I go, I just don't really like hiking with other people, sorry. I prefer to be alone. He keeps insisting like, come on, let me just get your number. I firmly state again, no thank you. I don't know how many times I have to tell him no, and in how many different ways, but at this point he's starting to pick up that I feel that he's being a creep. He says defensively, I'm just trying to take you somewhere nice, that's all. I said something along the lines of, I understand, thank you for that, but I'm just not interested. At this point, he just stops and his demeanor changes. He no longer has a friendly approach, he seems annoyed, and he just starts looking around him and not saying anything, but not trying to tell me goodbye and leave either. I start feeling unsafe, my anxiety is racing, and I'm remembering that one. There is really nobody around me, except those two people I saw who are still pretty far away, and might not even be there, 2. I have no reception if something happens and I need to make an emergency call, and 3. Nobody had any idea that I was out there that day, so if something happens nobody will know.